Geldi mi? Ne? Olay ne hocam?
Bozmazdı.
Evet, merhabalar tekrar. Herkese hoş geldiniz diyorum. Sömestr seminerlerimizin son oturumundayız. Atatürk Üniversitesi'nden Doktor Tevfik Darıyemez'i ağırlıyoruz. Bugün bence oturumun sömestr seminerlerinin en ilgi çekici oturumlarından bir tanesi olacak. İngilizce öğretim metotlarına dair sanırım hepimizin yenice duyacağı şeyler öğreneceğiz. Hocam hoş geldiniz.
Hoş bulduk. Arkadaşlar merhaba. Hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Hemen ekranı paylaşıyorum.
Hocam şöyle kısaca bir kendinizden bahsettikten sonra sunuma başlayabilirsiniz.
Evet. Arkadaşlar merhaba. Hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Ben Tevfik Darıyemez. Atatürk Üniversitesi'nde çalışıyorum. Epeydir buradayım. Bir 10 senedir buradayım. Doktoramı da İngiliz Dil Bilimi'nde yaptım. Ve bugün sizlere Flip Learning yani tersiz eğitim hakkında bilgi vereceğim. Konumuz Developing Speaking Skills through Flipped Classroom Model. Sunumumuz arkadaşlar İngilizce ağırlıklı olacak. Ama yine sunumumuzun sonunda sorularınızı Türkçe veya İngilizce sorabilirsiniz. Anlamadığınız bir yer olursa, açıklamak istediğiniz bir yer olursa da yine sorabilirsiniz arkadaşlar. İsterseniz, hazırsanız yavaştan başlayalım. Evet. Evet. Evet arkadaşlar başlayalım isterseniz. As I said, the presentation is going to be in English language, and today we'll be talking about flipped classroom learning, and we're going to begin with the main topic that we'll be looking at in flipped classroom learning. And in today's presentations, we'll begin with why speaking skills, and we will be looking at the statement of the problem, and we will check the new trends in teaching second language learning skills. Then we will look at flipped learning, speaking instruction through flipped learning, and also we will be looking at the viewpoints of the students that receive flipped instruction and the contributions of flipped learning to their English and the challenges we faced and suggestions for effective flipped instruction for further studies and for those students, for the instructors that are planning to implement flipped classroom learning. Right, so let's begin with speaking. Why speaking? Well, knowing a language is often equated with speaking that particular language. And when you say, I know English, that means I also speak English. And out of the four skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, speaking is probably the most challenging one to develop. And when we ask ourselves the question, are we successful in teaching speaking skills? Here is where the problem begins. According to Education First English Proficiency Index, this index lists the top 100 countries and regions that provide English, that shows this index lists the top 100 countries and regions depending on the language proficiency of the speakers there. And when we check Turkey, Turkey is ranked the 79th country in this index. Obviously, in Turkey, we are not so successful in developing language and speaking skills. And also in Europe, we are ranked as one of the least successful countries in terms of language proficiency. Here, what we mean is, of course, English language proficiency. Okay. And there are various reasons for that, but these are some of the reasons that we will be focusing on today. And we think that the things that we apply could solve or ameliorate some of these problems. For example, we have limited course time, and the classrooms are often crowded, oversized classrooms we have, and students cannot get the chance to practice English both in and beyond the classrooms. And when students come for the classrooms, they are often not ready for the lessons. And when we want to initiate a conversation, we also see that students do not have much background knowledge about the topics to be discussed. And also, most learners have low learner autonomy. They are not autonomous learners. They do not know where to begin, how to improve their speaking skills. And they also often have low willingness to communicate. So they are not eager to initiate a conversation. And they often have high speaking anxiety. This is why they often remain to be silent instead of speaking. So let's check the new trends in teaching second language speaking skills. As you may know, there has been a shift from teacher-centered education to student-centered education. And structured activities are replaced with authentic materials and authentic activities. And also there's a shift from CALL to M-learning. About 15 years ago, we were talking about CALL, which is computer assisted language learning. And now today we are talking about mobile learning because we all have smartphones these days. And the idea that one for all has changed as well. So we are today talking about differentiated instruction because each and every student that we have is different. They have different interests, different talents, different skills. And because of that, if we prepare one method, that may not be suitable for all the students. Okay, because of that, now when we check the new trends, many people are focusing on differentiated instruction, which could help people to develop the ideas, develop the areas that needs development actually. And there has been a shift from traditional learning, traditional classroom learning to online learning and blended learning. Here we can say that in today's learning atmosphere, we can say that the teacher is no longer the only source of knowledge and wisdom. Okay, and let's talk about the shift from the traditional classroom learning to online learning and blended learning. As you may guess, lecturing is becoming an increasingly outmoded style of instruction. There is traditional classroom learning and there's online learning. And we have also blended learning, which is a combination of both traditional classroom learning and online learning. And in today's presentation, we will be looking at flipped learning. Flipped learning is a type of blended learning. Under blended learning, we will be looking at flipped learning. So what is flipped learning? When we look at the definitions of it, you may actually think that, well, it's not something quite new. We used to do that, you may say, but flipped learning is a much more organized way of doing things. Here, it's a pedagogical approach to blended learning, as we said. It's under blended learning. It's a pedagogical approach. And we have two names here that are often mentioned with flipped learning. These are Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sams. They started it in 2008. And they started Flipped Learning Network. So if you want to gather ideas about flipped learning, you may also check their website, which is called Flipped Learning Network. And on that website, they put a definition which says flipped learning is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction changes from the group learning space to individual learning space. So the typical activities of classroom lectures followed by homework are reversed. What we mean is what we traditionally done in classroom and as homework are switched. So in typical classrooms, for example, in traditional learning, we give lecturing in the classroom and then we give homework outside the classroom. But in flipped learning, this is the other way around. So beyond the classroom, we give lecturing, we teach what we are planning to teach in the classroom before that. And in the classroom, we do active learning. We check what students need more. Okay, so the traditional type of learning is switched. This is why it's called flipped learning. So first, we do lecturing in traditional learning. We do lecturing in the classrooms, and then we give homework. In flipped learning, we do lecturing. We teach what we are planning to teach before the class. Okay, students come to class with an idea of the topic and with some knowledge about the topic. And what we do in the classroom is we check what they know, what they have learned, and then we check what they need more. Okay, and then we do a lot of activities to master the things they need. So let's look at the advantages of it. It has the qualities of both lecture model and active learning model. And students are no longer passive learners, they become active learners. And when students come to the classes, they already have some knowledge about the topics to be discussed in the classroom. And also, there is flexible learning atmosphere, so students can watch the videos, do the activities whenever and wherever they wish. And class time is not filled with raw course content. In our traditional classrooms, sometimes when we teach things, we don't have much time for discussions and for feedback and so on, because class time is filled with course content. But since we give the course content before the class, we will have a lot of time for other activities. So the saved time could be used for various activities in the classroom. For example, we can look at student-centered activities. We can initiate discussions on the topic when we are in the classroom. We can fill the learning gaps. We check what students learned before coming to class, and we check their learning gaps and we fill them out. And we will have a lot of time to give individual assistance and feedback to students, so we can reach each and every student in the classroom, and more student-to-student and teacher-to-student interaction is possible thanks to this flipped learning as well. And there is individualized learning atmosphere, and also we are able to build a classroom community in which each and every student know each other well, and they have good communications with their teachers and the other students. So when you build a classroom community, that means there's a friendly atmosphere. Okay, all the students in the classroom, and also simply because of that, you feel free to speak, and you are not maybe hesitant to talk and express your ideas in the classroom. All right, so is there a particular strategy to flip a class? Let's ask this question. Well, the answer is no. There is no a checklist to follow. So depending on what you teach and depending on your students, you can adjust it. So it's a dynamic thing. And also there are not some strict rules. So you can adjust the rules. You can, depending on what your students need, you can just change the way you teach. Okay, let's look at the speaking class section. Is it applicable in a speaking class? When we check the studies, we always see that flipped learning has been used widely in general language development studies, writing skills, grammatical knowledge, academic performance, pronunciation skills, listening skills, and perceptions. So a lot of studies have been done on these skills, and flipped learning have been used to teach writing, to teach grammar, to teach pronunciation, to teach listening, and so on. Well, it is okay to teach these things through the classroom, because it is normal that this is so common in teaching writing, grammar, and other skills. But when it comes to speaking, we see that not many studies have been done on speaking skills, because it's quite challenging to flip course materials for speaking sessions. Okay, so let's check what could be done to teach speaking skills in flipped learning. Here we have got three things that we need to pay attention to. These are rationale behind flipping the class, and materials development, and learning management system. Let's have a look at these three ideas. So the first one is rationale behind flipped learning. If you are planning to flip your classes, it is wise to explain the rationale behind this approach to students. When students know that they could learn, they could master their English, master their speaking skills through flipped learning, they will have trust in it. And when they have trust in this method, they will focus on it and they will do what's required by this method. And also, students should be aware of their roles and responsibilities, both in and out of the classroom. And of course, you need to raise the interest of the students as well. So the main issue that we need to focus on is the materials. So personally, I believe that for the success of any method, materials comes first. And here, instructors in Philip Learning, instructors are considered to be the content experts, instructional designers, and media developers as well. And so, as language instructors, the most challenging part is creating materials, appropriate materials for both in and out of class activities. And these materials should also raise the interest of the students. And as language instructors, we need to decide what to do in classroom and out of the classroom first. So students could achieve things on their own. Also, sometimes students need our assistance as well. So we need to decide what, we need to spot the areas where students need our assistance and where students could become successful on their own. And we need to, again, we need to pay attention to the time as well, time limit as well. If there's too much time commitment and workload, this could demotivate our students. Okay, so let's look at some practical ideas to materials development. So what could be done to prepare materials for speaking classes? You know, in speaking classes, open-ended questions are always found. So there are questions, students answer them, and then you give additional, you ask additional questions and prolong the speed and so on. And also you can use open-ended questions in flipped learning. What you can do is, you know, you can read aloud these questions. You can set a certain gap between them, and then you can let the students answer those questions. This is what you can do on your own. But if you are using an LMS, or if you have a better system, let's say, and if a better system that runs on artificial intelligence, you can put a lot of questions, and then when students speak and give answers, the program could also ask them additional questions, and they can practice English before coming to class that way. And when they come to class, what you can do is you can ask additional questions again and prolong the speech, and you can start a discussion. You can divide the classroom into groups, and you can again create discussions. Another one is summarize the speech. This is what you can do. As we said at the beginning of the presentation, to speak English, you need to have ideas. You need to have some general knowledge about the topic to be discussed. What you can do is you can prepare videos, or you can find videos on the internet. You can send the link to them, to the students, and you can let them watch the videos. As I said, you can prepare the videos yourself, or also you can find the videos on the internet. Here, for example, we have two topics here. One of them is about SpaceX, the other one is about genetically modified food. You can send the links to your students, let them watch the videos before coming to class, and when they come to class, you can initiate conversations and discussions on these topics. Here, one thing that you need to pay attention to is the length of the videos. Do not put like long videos. If videos are too long, people get demotivated over. And also the level of the videos are important. So if your students are at beginner level, let's say, do not put a video which has an advanced level. The level of the videos should be appropriate to your students as well. And the content of the videos also should be interesting. Okay. Well, another one is read aloud activities. You may use dialogues here, or you may use text here. What you can do is, for the flipped part of the class, you can send these materials to the students, and you can yourself read aloud these dialogues and put them there. Or also on the internet, you can find a lot of text and dialogues with their own audios. You can also upload the audios. You can let the students listen to the audios before coming to class. They listen to the audio and tell them to read aloud it. So they first listen to the audio, and then they read aloud these texts or dialogues. And another one is cue cards. This is another one that you can use. So you can send cue cards to your students. They look at those cue cards. They talk about those cue cards like 1 to 2 minutes. They record their voice and they may send those audio files to you. Another one is grammar practice. This is what you can do in your speaking class as well. For example, this activity is on ed and ing ending adjectives. So you may find an instructional video about the topic you will be teaching. Put the link there, let your students watch it, and tell them what they are supposed to do in that activity and explain it very well. For example, here we said read aloud 5 of the questions given below and answer them. So here we have 12 of them. They are required to read aloud them and answer them. And they watch the instructional video and do it. Another one is vocabulary practice. For the speaking part, I personally focus on collocations. Collocations are the group of words that are commonly used together. And for example, in these materials, you can see that collocations are often marked in bold. For example, we have cheapest lodging here. We have watch every dime, decent apartment, way beyond my reach, living on a tight budget. So these are the collocations. These words are often used commonly together. So I marked them bold, I underlined them. And in the vocabulary section, you may, in your materials, you may also underline, or you may also mark some of the collocations in bold. And what you can do is, in these activities, for example, students are required to form sentences and record their voice and send them through the LMS. In the classroom, when they come back, for example, if the topic is about advertising, you may ask your students to create a poster, for example, or a flyer, for example, and you may require them to use the collocations that use some of the collocations underlined or marked in bold. Okay. Also, you may teach pronunciation. Depending on the topic of that week, you may find a video about it on YouTube, or you can also make your own videos. It's up to you. And you can let the students watch the video, instruction video, and then tell them to read aloud the sample answers. Here, this activity is about TH pronunciation, for example. So we have voice TH and voiceless TH. So they watch the video, they learn what they are and how that sound is created, and they read those words in the list and record their own voices. So in order to check whether students are doing all of these things, you can organize self-assessment and quizzes. You can ask them to, for example, you can ask them to summarize what they have learned that week, and they assess whether they check whether they have learned a lot of collocations, expressions, and so on. They can record their voice again, and they can send them to you through OBS. Okay. Right, so you can do all of these things, the audio files and recording, so on, through an LMS. You need an LMS program. LMS stands for Learning Management System. And there are a lot of programs, LMS programs today, and these are often for free. For example, you can use Moodle, Schoology, Moodle, and so on. And you can check these programs, and depending on your class, depending on what you want to teach, just check them, and you can open an account in one of them and start a class in one of them. And when you start Flip Learning, you can train your students on how to use the LMS. So for the first week or for the first 2 weeks, it's going to be a kind of training on how to use it, and it's going to be informing them about their responsibilities and so on. So here is what I did. I did practice on, I did studies on Schoology. I used Schoology program, and this is the flipped instruction on Schoology program I used. So I put the units for each week, and there was a deadline for the assignments. And I put the course materials. So they were required to do all the activities. They were required to watch videos, read aloud, and they were required to create mind maps. And for all of them, they recorded their voice and they sent those audio files back to me. And I checked those audio files and I gave them feedback, okay, feedback on Schoology about their assignments, individual feedback. So I listened to their performances. I gave them individual feedback about their pronunciation, about their word choice, and so here we see the feedback on Schoology. Right. So after applying it for one term, the flipped learning flipped instruction I gathered the ideas of the students, the viewpoints of the students, and here is what they said. So there were things that students liked, and there were things that students didn't like at all. So for example, they enjoyed flipped learning. They said they had fun while doing the flipped learning. And they also stated that they had the opportunity to practice English speaking before the class and in the classroom. So because of that, they also liked the program. They said we got the chance to practice English in and beyond the classroom. They were able to monitor their pronunciation as well because they recorded their own voice and they checked their voice as well. They checked their recordings as well. And they do all of these things in an anxiety-free atmosphere. They also mentioned that it was anxiety-free and they didn't feel hesitant while talking and anxious. They were also very happy that they received individual feedback about their speaking performances. And they also enjoyed the smartphone convenience. And then they also stated that there was self-awareness. They learned how to improve their speaking skills on their own. They discovered the ways to improve their speaking skills on their own. And the things that they didn't like was too much time commitment. It took some time for them because they shouldered their own learning for a while. And they also felt weird when they heard their own voices. And they also stated that some course materials are not so attractive. Some of them also complained that the things they did in the classroom and beyond the classroom are in a way similar. Here is the contributions of flipped learning to students. I found that flipped learning improved their language competency in terms of pronunciation, collocations, grammar, and writing. Also improved their learner autonomy. They become aware of learning possibilities. And also they had the chance to self-study. They also take the responsibility for their own learning, and they monitor their own progress through the LMS learning management system. And also they had high willingness to communicate. They were prepared for the lesson. So when they arrived at the lesson, they know the topic to be discussed. They already watched the videos, and because of that, they have knowledge about the topic. They were prepared for the class, and they gained competency. And when they noticed that they were gaining competency in English, they were more motivated. And they also enjoyed practicing with the teacher. So, and also another contribution was on low anxiety. They were less nervous, and some of the students stated they overcame their shyness, and they also noted that they spoke English in a relaxed way. So here are some challenges in the implementation of flipped instruction. The first one is about technology-based challenges. Students mentioned that they had poor internet connections in their dorms and in their houses. They also faced some learning management system related problems. Another one is about out-of-class context-based problems. They couldn't find a silent place to speak and record their voices, and they had lack of individual study context, they noted. And they also faced material-based challenges. Some students mentioned that some materials are way above their level, and they also had a lack of general knowledge about the topics to be discussed, and they are unfamiliar with this learning type. This is why at the beginning especially they faced problems. Here are some suggestions for effective flipped instruction. These are the suggestions made by the students, by the way, for out-of-class practices and in-class practices. there has to be an appropriate learning management system and also appropriate videos. As I said, the videos should not be too long, should not be too complicated, or should not be too difficult to understand. And also the videos should promote, the activities should promote self-study. And also as teachers, we need to find attractive topics, and there has to be more teacher to student interaction and constructive, and we need to give constructive feedback as well. Right, and there has to be a relaxed atmosphere and diverse activities for students and active participation. So here are my final comments. Flip Classroom is something that may improve your speaking skills, but we need to know that technology cannot make a bad language instruction perfect. So we can't rely on technology all the time. And technology can be used as a tool, medium, to make language learning better. So we need to make that difference. And Philip learning is not the only way to facilitate good teaching. Philip learning should be considered as a way to not solve all the problems regarding language learning, but as a way it should be considered as a way to foster learning, not as a way to solve all language-related problems. So this is what I want to say. Thank you for your participation. If you have any questions, you may ask them in Turkish or in English, or if you want me to explain some parts in English or in Turkish, again, you can tell us.
Çok teşekkür ederiz hocam. Ayağınıza sağlık, ağzınıza sağlık, pardon. Sorularımız varsa, yorumlarımız varsa alabiliriz. Hocam ekranı kapatabilirsiniz isterseniz.
Evet.
Paylaşımını.
Okay.
Evet arkadaşlar, var mı soru, yorum, katkı?
Do you have any questions? Any comments? Hocam bunu kapatamadım ben ama.
Aşağıda share screen kısmı var hocam. Oradan yapacaksınız sanırım.
Okay.
Tamam hocam şu anda.
Evet, şimdi yapabilirim. Evet.
Evet arkadaşlar, soru, yorum, katkı. Hocam bir ifadeniz çok ilgimi çekti sunumda. Bu özellikle İngiliz Dili Edebiyatı bölümlerinde sıklıkla yaşadığımız problemlerden bir tanesi. Not ready for the lesson.
Evet. Evet.
dediniz. Özellikle materyali okumamanın, edebi metinleri, verilen edebi metinleri okumamanın konuşmayı etkilediği sonucu çıkarıyoruz değil mi buradan? Yani öğrenciler materyali okurlarsa daha mı iyi konuşacaklar demek bu?
Bu şöyle bir şey. Şimdi bizim bir konu hakkında bilgimiz varsa o konu hakkında bir şeyler söyleyebiliriz.
Evet.
Diyelim ki o haftaki konumuz neyse o konu hakkında öğrencilere bir video gönderirsek o konu hakkında ve öğrencilere bir tekst gönderirsek, öğrenciler özellikle o videoyu izleyip, o teksti izleyip ondan sonra bir quiz yapabilirsiniz onunla ilgili ya da kısa bir dakikalık bir ses kaydı isteyebilirsiniz. Yani atıyorum 2 dakikalık ses kaydı. O ses kaydında işte bu haftaki bu konuyla ilgili okuduğunuzda ne öğrendiniz? Bunu kısaca özetleyin diye 2 dakikalık bir ses kaydı alıp bu LMS'e yani sisteme yükleyebilirler. Bu şekilde bu olayı quizlerle veya ses kayıtlarıyla çözebiliyoruz hocam. Diyelim ki konunuz neyse o konuyla ilgili bir video linki ya da videoyu kendiniz hazırlayabilirsiniz. Ders videosunu gönderdiğinizde onu öğrenci izleyip hazır geliyor derse. Öğrencinin de izleyip izleyemediğini belirleyebilmek için de dediğim gibi bir quiz ya da bir ses kaydı isteyebilirsiniz öğrenciden.
Teşekkürler hocam.
Biz daha çok bunu dediğim gibi birçok alanda kullanabiliyoruz. Ben daha çok konuşma dersleri için bunu uyguluyorum burada. Konuşma derslerinde de atıyorum uzay hakkında bir konu var. Uzay hakkında birkaç tane video gönderiyorum öğrenciye onların seviyesinde. O videoları izleyip özetliyorlar. Sesli özetleyip ses kaydalıp sisteme yüklüyorlar. O sisteme yükledikleri üzerinden de feedback veriyorum.
Anladım hocam. Teşekkür ederim.
Yani ödevleri bir bakıma bu LMS sayesinde daha nasıl diyelim kontrol edilebilir hale getiriyoruz. Ve öğrenci ve hoca etkileşimi sürekli oluyor. Yani LMS kullandığımız zaman sürekli öğrenci oradan hocaya erişebiliyor. Hoca öğrenciye erişebiliyor ve sürekli bir feedback verme imkanı olmuş bu doğuyor.
Teşekkürler hocam.
Evet.
Sanırım başka soru veya yorum yok. Evet. Herkese çok teşekkür ederiz. Tevfik hocam tekrar çok teşekkürler.
Ben teşekkür ederim.
İnşallah Sömestr seminerlerinin 3.'sünde Şubat 2023'te tekrar görüşmek üzere.
Çok teşekkürler. Görüşmek üzere.
Hoşça kalın.